Hello guys, today the plan is to try and upgrade this Britain's Grain trailer, which is one of the first models I bought. Well, it's one of the first accessories I bought, and I bought it for the Massey. The idea, obviously enough, is there's nothing better than a dump trailer for a tractor, so that's why it was one of the first things I bought. I thought at the time that I'd put a big battery in here and I've no problem lifting it. But I soon realised that this die-cast trailer bed, I guess you call it, was extremely heavy. So my original plans to lift that with a servo really didn't work. I didn't have a servo that was strong enough. But I eventually found this DVD drive. I had been dismantling an old DVD player for parts for all these motors and things, and I realised that this had the power to lift it. The only problem is that when this lifts the trailer up, well, it's not the only problem. The obvious problem is that it's very ugly looking and it catches in the ground. But when it lifts the trailer up, there's nothing to hold the trailer there, so it, well, at the minute it's not, but eventually it rolls back down. So it does like that. But anyway, the plan for today is to replace all of this stuff with a N20 motor with a screw drive output on it. At the time that I did this, I didn't even know N20 motors existed, so that just shows you how long ago this was. So the first thing to do, I guess, is remove this old piece of the DVD player. So I need a flathead screwdriver. Just a couple of screws holding this in. I never really actually finished this because it's not exactly what I had intended or how I had planned it to be, but I never really got round to finishing it off. I had this thing glued in here. It's actually pretty solid there. And one over here. These are the limit switches that would have prevented it from rising too high or too low. Shouldn't need them with the N20 motor because there should be nice, slow, smooth control. Whereas this, the motor just went back as fast as it could and forward as fast as it could, so you didn't really get the smooth control. But we should get good smooth control with the N20 screw motor. So you can see there I kind of drew the board that I wanted to make and then kind of cut it out. That was kind of an experiment that I wanted to see if that was a good way of doing things, but it's not really. It's too slow, too messy, so I haven't done that since. I seem to have wires in a knot everywhere here. I don't know why I did that. The limit switches also came from a DVD player, or possibly an old CD player, I'm not sure. There's a couple of things I took apart that time that were broken. I'll cut the motor off here. Okay, that's that. Last thing now is just this thing here, which was a piece of a welding rod. There we go, that's that out. last little thing here, I was using this to just lift the rear of the trailer up as it tipped, so I had this tied to the frame, so it just went like that. But we can 3D print something a lot nicer for that now, so we'll remove that for now. I'll put the bolt back on just to hold the trailer together still. Maybe I'll use this smaller bolt. Okay, well that's the trailer all in pieces. So let's take a closer look here. This is just a little DVD drive, just a simple gearbox, 1, 2, 3 gears in it. So the motor just drove this little gear to spin the linear piece back and forward there. That's all, nothing special there. The motor, just a normal DC motor, nothing particularly interesting. So on this board then I had a L7805 voltage regulator, so would have had to have powered this from about 7.4 volts I guess then. At the time I probably had the Massey wired for 7.4 volts, so that's probably why I was using that regulator. That was probably a very inefficient way to do this trailer, but at the time it was probably what I was used to doing, because I used to work with PIC microcontrollers a lot, or not work with them, I used to play around with them as a hobby. And this is a PIC 16F627, and that was a very common microcontroller that I used. The first microcontroller that I learned to use was a PIC 16F627, and that's why when I started the RC tractors I was using PIC microcontrollers. For the motor driver then I had an SN754410NE, and I would have needed the high voltage over the 5 volts to operate this motor, because that motor driver would have maybe a 1.5 volt drop between the voltage inputs and the motor outputs. So that's why you would have needed a huge voltage for that. But with the TB6612 FNG that we use now, I won't need that high voltage. We'll be able to power this from 3.7. I just need to get a very low gear motor. The issue with the low gear motor though is that it's going to be pretty slow raising this, but that's not a problem. If it raises it well, I'll be happy enough with that. I don't need a high speed tip. These are just 2 switches. They're resistors here. Probably were pulling it high. I'm not sure which is either been pulled high or pulled low, but it's just the same as a push button switch on the controller. When this is closed, it goes from either high to low or low to high, and the microcontroller sees that. I might use a PIC again in this trailer, because I'm kind of running low on Arduinos, and I still have lots of these PIC microchips around, so there's a possibility I'll use a PIC again when I rebuild the trailer. But you'd be better using the Arduinos, because the PIC, you need a programmer and the code isn't very easy to understand, so I just stick to the Arduino if I was you. But this is so simple, you won't need me to tell you how to program it for the Arduino. It's pretty straightforward. Here's the first part of the mechanism that's going to lift the trailer. I'll probably use a slower motor than this one that has more torque, but I'll show you how I plan to use this. So obviously I have an N20 motor in here. This is a 3D printed piece. So I'm going to put this piece in here. There's the holes here that was holding on the motor. Just screw the new motor in place with them, same holes. So the motor will go in there, something like that, and it should be it shouldn't be too high underneath the model. Actually, I have the one of these brass things from the Libra model. I'll just screw that on here. Well, that's the kind of tip angle that I can get with that setup, but I should be able to modify it a bit, move this point back a little bit further. That might let it tip more. I'm not 100% sure. I have to try a few things out first, and then I'll settle on a good design. I think this motor won't be able to lift the trailer, but I'll show you it lowering it anyway. You can get an idea. This motor probably a good bit faster than the one I will ultimately use. I'll see if it can lift it, but I don't think it will. I think this motor is geared too high. It'd be too fast, not enough torque. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe. I think my wire is a bit dodgy there. It actually looks like the motor has enough power to lift it. That's kind of as high as that can go. That would be an okay tip angle, but the final tip angle of the trailer is way up here, so it would be better to get to that. If that's as good as I can get with this setup, that's not too bad, but still it would be better. It would be better to get the full height of it, and I think I can do that by moving this connection point back here a little bit. But then the motor is going to be under more load because this lever is shorter, so there's going to be more weight. But I'm just going to have to test it out and see. I don't have the stronger motors yet, but when I get them, I'll redo these kind of tests with that and see how it works out. But the other motors I've ordered, they are much lower gear ratio, so I'm pretty confident that it'll raise it without any problem. But if it will raise it at a reasonable speed, that is the real question. It could be a bit too slow. Like, this isn't exactly lightning fast as it is. That's really all I wanted to show in this video, my plan for the grain trailer. If you like this build or you have any comments or suggestions, let me know in the comments below the video or in the forum. I meant to give you an idea of the ground clearance there. You can see that our motor is much further off the ground than the previous attempt had been with the trailer, but also it's way above these pieces, so that should be absolutely fine. Looks like there's a bit of a gap here between the end of the brass bar that I'm using at the minute and the motor, so that would give me a little bit more height, but not a whole lot. But I'll make up a few test things in the next video, so make sure and subscribe so you don't miss out on that. And that's pretty much everything, so thanks very much for watching.